Well, hey, everybody. What's going on?
Trying to get in position.
Get in
mental
position.
launch position.
That would have been funny if you said you were trying to get in position, then you just went.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that.
Pookie running around.
That's like
here.
some stupid shit I would do.
Yeah. Got Pookie running around here. Okay, I watched this episode twice.
Yeah, we watched it last night,
Yeah.
and I took notes on it, and then he watched it again, just like right before the show.
Okay, got Murder Hoarder in here. What's up, bro?
He said they need to hurry and do the surgery on his toe. It's killing him.
Yeah.
That sucks. Needs
And
VA approval.
they're doing all kinds of shit to that dude.
Really?
Yeah.
Not just his toe.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's good that it's getting done, but
yeah,
it sucks because you have to go through all that.
Stay on that test, man.
I don't know if that helped your toe out, but you know.
Took a lot of weight off of him. Looking younger.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Should have strengthened you. Yeah. And you
So-
live so long, all the problems you have will catch up with you and just fucking pester you for the rest of your life.
That's the spirit.
Yes, the spirit. No, at least you'll be able to heal up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm 100 years old and I can't fucking. Yeah, so right before we started streaming, Thomas just watched this episode again and he's like, I'm not really sure I got anything more out of it the second time.
Yeah. It's written, it's kind of a jumble. It jumps around some.
It wasn't a bad episode though. I
Yeah,
thought
no,
it
it
was
wasn't bad. It's
I thought
just-
it was kind of creepy.
It's movie-like. So
They
trying-
all started going like that
Yeah,
in season 5. We keep mentioning that.
I was trying to pick through what was actual and what it was they were just showing, you know what I mean, for effect, and trying to divide up what they actually physically saw happen, the phenomenon, and what they thought happened or what they felt, which it's hard to prove what somebody felt. You know what I mean? It's hard to prove what somebody saw. Yeah, I saw this, but nobody else saw it, you know. So I'm just trying to go through but it's a good case. In some ways, it's kind of like my case in a way where it's about a woman who had an NDE, a near-death experience. And when she came back out of it, she basically became a medium. And
Unwittingly.
by accident. There's a lot of reports of that. But I had weird paranormal type shit happen to me before my NDE. Afterwards, actually, after the NDE, it kind of chilled out. It's still around. Jenny's seen it. It's just not as strong. But part of the reason why I think it got weaker was you get older. I think it has a lot to do with it. There's something about being young helps it.
But I kind of feel like this episode, I don't know if it was unique, because I'm sure that there was other ones that had this particular angle, but I did like the angle of the woman who was clinically dead. She wasn't even a near-death experience. She was dead.
Dead, yeah.
They pronounced her dead.
Yeah.
And she was dead for quite a while, and then she came back to life.
Yeah. She didn't have an out-of-body experience. I had one.
She said she didn't
there was
see
nothing.
anything. She
Yeah.
said it was just darkness.
That's what my dad said when he started having those heart attacks up in the hospital, and they shocked him back alive. And I said, did you see the light? Did you go up there? And he goes, nah, I ain't seen nothing but just oblivion. I said, oblivion. And he goes, oblivion. There's nothing. And I said, no. I said, don't. There's something. You just wait.
That's what this woman said
There's
too,
nothing.
though. She said she didn't see anything.
Yeah.
Because she said a lot of people asked her, and she was dead for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
My dad was always kind of like, he was never a church-going guy, but he always believed in God and Jesus and shit. And that he went to heaven.
God and Jesus.
Yeah, until he started having those heart attacks and fucking dying and then shocking it back. There's just oblivion. He was disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, man, fucking, says I'm not all religious, and I had the whole out-of-body experiences and the fucking whole entourage waiting for me and fucking people I knew and the big fucking counselor who's fucking telling you, no, you got to go back, you know.
You still got shit to do.
Yeah.
I wonder what it was that he wanted you to do.
He showed me, but I wasn't allowed to remember. And they said that. He says,
What's the point of that?
Because they're reasoning with you right then.
Oh.
You're going, oh, okay. It makes sense to you at the time, but you weren't allowed to remember also because it would spoil the mission.
Okay.
I guess.
So you're not like supposed to, because it'll mess up if you know what your future is.
Yeah,
type
right.
of
That
deal.
kind of thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Because then you might like
Then you wouldn't choose.
unwittingly like
Right.
fuck it up.
Right.
By trying not to do it or trying to like make an end run and do it and like
Based on what I was shown, there's like predestiny. there's things that you have to do in order to complete the creation.
You got side missions and all that kind of stuff, like a video game.
Well, it's funny, you know, they were showing me the life is woven in all these tapestries and shit. And you said, yeah, Neil Gaiman wrote a book like that. I fucking, it was long.
No, Clive Barker did.
Clive Barker, okay.
Weave World.
Yeah, I had never heard of that, but that's what.
You probably like that book. It's kick-ass.
That's what I saw. Yuck, I saw it. It was weird that lives were all interwoven like a damn tapestry, like
yeah. It was like a literal tapestry or like
right,
a literal carpet,
right.
but it was like
it made a singularity that was kind of like outside. You know, time was in it, and I was outside of time, and I was seeing this singularity, this creation, and it had to be executed.
I need to reread that book now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
I have it someplace. Pookie probably tore it up. I think it's on the bottom. But yeah, it was. I remember it was being really good. You would, like I said, you'd probably dig it. It's very long though. I mean, all of Clive Barker's books are pretty long. He's one for writing them chunkers, man.
Yeah.
Them doorstops. But yeah. Murder Hornet said, I've heard of people not seeing anything. Yeah, so have I. It seems like I don't even know what the percentage is of people that have like technically like died and come back to life like on the operating table or whatever. It's like it's just a certain percentage of people that see like the whole light and your dead family members and all that other kind of stuff. And I don't even know if it's a majority. Maybe it's just half and half. I remember like seeing some kind of statistic at some point, but I can't remember what it was. But I remember it being like not as high as I was expecting.
The reports of the experience are pretty consistent no matter what the religion is or lack thereof. It might have like Christian overtones or Islamic styling or Judaic type styling or even like Buddhist, you know, depending on what you're. But if you don't have any of those kind of beliefs, it's still kind of like that same kind of thing.
Well, see, I always, you know, what the skeptic would say then is that, well, that means that it comes somehow from like the structure of the brain. It's like making you see the same kind of things, and you're just like slightly interpreting it in the way that your culture would dictate.
I would disagree.
I'm just saying
it seemed very hyper realistic. It was real, you know. It was just like a little process. I didn't go down some tunnel or up some tunnel. A fucking tunnel of fucking light came down and got me.
Tunnel of chili.
Yeah, it came down and got me. Just like a big ball of light. Boom, came down and got me, and then I was somewhere else. I was in a fucking whole sea of light. It was like welding arc. And all the people were kind of made out of welding arcs, but they were like little icons. They were frozen kind of faces. You could see them, but there was just thought. You could pick up their thoughts so well. You could kind of hear what their voices and the tone of their voice was supposed to be. But there was like images at the same time when they're speaking to you. And if you wanted to see what they looked like or whatever icon or whatever avatar they wanted to appear as, it would get a little bit more clear. But it wasn't in color. It was just prismatic white light, like a welding arc. But it was 3D, and so was the background. So it was hard. It doesn't make any sense when you're describing it. You're not seeing it with eyes. You're seeing it with your soul, I guess.
I can kind of imagine it though, like the way you're describing it.
Yeah, it's like you're swimming in a fucking 3D sea of static, and the static's made out of welding arcs. It's kind of prismatic, white.
Yeah, I can picture that.
Yeah,
I can picture that.
And you're floating in a vast space.
Yeah.
360 degrees of it, you know, and there's just things around you.
Murder Hornet said NDE is one of his favorite subjects.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting. I read a whole book about it. Well, I've read several books about it. Usually from a skeptical point of view, but I find that interesting too. Like, you know, even if it's not anything, like it's interesting that the brain does that weird kind of shit. So this woman though seems to have not had a super pleasant experience. After her, like I said, it wasn't technically an NDE because she was dead, like for a while.
That's still near death.
I guess so.
She came back.
She did come back, and I wonder they didn't bring this up on the show, but one of the things she just went in for, it was an appendectomy, right? Like an emergency. Yeah. She had to have her appendix taken out, and they gave her, like the nurse, I guess, like fucked up and gave her like an overdose of sedative or something like that, and it killed her.
Yeah.
And like I said, she was dead for 5 minutes. I think they said 5 minutes and 42 seconds. They pronounced her dead because they tried to bring her back and it didn't work. And then they were like, well, let's fill out the paperwork. We lost another one. They were all like cavalier about it. But then like she just kind of like popped back into, and we were sitting there going, lawsuit. Yeah. But they didn't say anything about that.
Well, I'm sure she got a check.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Because she like, I'd be like, what? You killed me for 5 fucking minutes?
There must have been more to it than that. They must have given her some antidotes and fucking, in terms of like some fucking methamphetamine or something to get her heart started.
Yeah, maybe they did a Pulp Fiction on her.
Yeah,
like,
put a bunch of adrenaline in her and meth and shit. Fucking shock her ass back away.
I wonder if it was because in the episode they just made it seem like they did a bunch of stuff like clear and all that kind of stuff, and it didn't work, and she was still like flatlined, and they're like, oh well, and then they're like, okay, pronounce her dead at whatever time it was, and then like all of a sudden they had stopped working on her, and then she's like, you know what I mean, and then she like wakes up. I don't know if that's really what it was.
You could be dead for a long time, evidently under the right conditions, and come back. There were kids have drowned in near freezing water and been down there for like 45 minutes. And they bring them up, and they're dead. They've been dead for 45 minutes. They bring them back.
Yeah, but it's under a very, very narrow set of parameters. Like usually it has to be like super, super, super cold water.
Yeah.
That's
then
usually
they had one as a little kid. I think it was a little toddler escaped from the house. And,
toddler escape.
Yeah, toddler escaped from the house in the middle of the night. They don't know why. He was just a toddler. Escaped from the house in the middle of the night. It was freezing cold outside, snow. And went out there in the fucking PJs. They found the fucking baby.
Dumbass.
They found that toddler frozen, like fucking rock solid. And they don't know how long it was out there. But they thawed him out, just put him alive. He came back.
I saw a video of somebody that found a frozen kitten.
Yeah,
and the same thing, and the kitten was fine.
Yeah,
after they thawed the kitten out and everything like that, and didn't seem like nothing wrong with it. They just kept it.
Weird.
Like I said, that's why they went all in on that whole like freezing thing, because to an extent. But I don't really know. I don't know what the state of the art is with that nowadays. Like with the freezing heads and like when you bring them back and stuff like that. I'm not saying they wouldn't be able to do that one of these days, but that does seem to be.
There was one that I'd heard. I don't know if it's true. I just heard about it. I think it was on radio. Might have been an Art Bell, and it's hard to know what was right.
Yeah, so I don't know how much stock I'd put in that.
This was probably around 2005, maybe. Some Japanese girl froze. I don't remember how. She was drunk or something and fell asleep outside and died of fucking exposure.
Shit, man, that's some shit you got to worry about, like up in fucking Minnesota and shit.
And she had evidently been dead a long time, hours, 6-7 hours, and they took her to the emergency room. Once they found her, and the doctor's like, "No, she's dead."
It's like, no way.
And somebody there was like, "No, let's just try to bring her back," and they just put her on a ventilator.
Come on, thaw her out.
Yeah, put her on a ventilator. They were ventilating
just
her
for
lungs.
Shits and giggles.
Ventilating her lungs and put a warm blanket on her, and she came back.
And she didn't have anything wrong with her?
Yeah, evidently nothing wrong with her. But she was drunk, I think, and if I remember correctly, she was drunk and died of exposure. Fell asleep outside and fucking freezing cold.
Wow, she had a great fucking story to tell.
She had been out there for a long time.
I wonder if she drank again after that.
I don't know.
I might not.
I don't know. And then they were postulating, well, how many people could have been saved if they just put them on a ventilator?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they've been dead, like in fucking Florida,
it wouldn't be the same.
They're probably dead. But But like I said, Minnesota in the middle of winter or something like that. Give it a whirl. You never know.
That's what the doctor said.
Right.
He says, let's just try.
It can't hurt anything.
Yeah, just ventilator, put her on there.
Right.
We'll put a warm blanket on her and see what happens. And like 30, 40 minutes later, she came to.
She's like, what the fuck?
And evidently
Can you imagine them like telling her that? How would you...
Yeah.
How would you react, like, if you woke up and you're like, where the fuck am I? It's like, the last thing I remember, I was fucking drinking.
If somebody can find that story, man, drop it in the comment section. I just remember it. I think it was 2004.
They'd be like, yo, babe, you've been dead for like 45 minutes.
It was more than that. It was an unbelievable amount of time. We're talking like 3-4 hours, which I've never heard of. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. She probably didn't remember shit about shit, I would imagine.
I think she was drunk when she passed out.
That makes sense, yeah.
And then froze.
Because you do dumb shit when you're drunk. It's like, I'm just going to walk home. Fuck you guys.
That kind of shit.
I don't care if it's 30 below.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's like, oh, this was a stupid idea.
It was in the winter in Japan. I don't know if it was in the city. It was probably in the country.
Zach said, legit though, I have to wonder what happens to you if you've been dead that long. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're frozen and preserved, I guess nothing much, but It would be, I don't know, that would weird me out. Like, because if they told her, later would say, like, hey, you were dead for 4 hours or however long it was, it's like, man, I would just never stop thinking about that. That would be fucking freaky. I'd be like, ooh, I'm like a real-life zombie.
Makes you kind of like, consider yourself a robot.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Like a machine that can be turned off and on, and when you turn back on, you're like, okay, no problem. I'm working. It kind of goes against my experience, but I kind of believe what Stuart Hameroff says. It's quantum particles in a field, the quantum soul theory. It's giving you the experience of qualia, or the feeling of existing. And anesthesia will take that away. Person will be walking and talking and intelligent, passing intelligence tests and everything. They're not conscious though. And when it wears off, they don't remember anything. It happened to Jenny. Jenny came up out of anesthesia, and she was talking normally. She didn't remember any of it. She was just she was Jenny. She wasn't quite as active. You know what I mean? Like she would respond, but she wouldn't start conversations. That went on for probably about an hour. And
because the first thing I remember, I don't remember waking up. I don't remember walking out into the recovery room. I don't remember anything. The first thing I remember is you putting me in the car. Yeah. So I don't know how. Yeah. Like, I remember that, and I sort of remember riding home in the car, and I remember you putting me in bed and bringing me a sandwich. Yeah. I remember that. But it's like, I don't remember anything about... I remember waking up in the recovery room for a second and being, like, really freezing cold. Yeah. And I remember that the nurse had told me, that's why they tell you when you go to surgery, it's like, oh, wear socks and a sweater and stuff, even if it's hot outside, because when you wake up, like, the anesthesia will usually make you, like, really, really cold. And I remember being really cold, and I thought she brought me a blanket. But I don't... that's all I remember from being in
We were talking, we were holding whole conversations and stuff.
Which is crazy, because I don't remember any of it. Yeah. Nothing.
Well, it's because you were... The anesthesia shuts down those microtubules inside the neurons, and the little quantum particles don't flow down there correctly. So you go from a quantum computer to more of a digital computer, like a laptop. You could do a lot of shit, but you don't have a sense of qualia. You don't have a sense of being, which is funny. It makes you wonder why living creatures need a sense of qualia, because they would work just fine without a sense of consciousness.
Well, it might not. It might be an emergent property.
Yeah, an emergent property.
I mean, it might not. It might have just happened.
Do you think that
like without cause?
There could be aliens that do not have any sense of being. Yeah, they're just a machine, a living machine, maybe.
Murder Hornet said, like me on Ambien. Yeah, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard some stories about Ambien.
Any kind of.
Where you get up and make a whole meal and eat a whole thing in the middle of the night without remembering.
Any kind of anesthesia turns you into a robot.
It's like, that's fucking crazy.
You go from I to AI.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Zach said, oh Jesus, I just tried looking up that story and found an article about an office worker who died from overwork after 159 hours of overtime in a month. Holy shit. That's depressing.
Zach, you trying to find the Japanese girl that froze?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It may not be true.
But I have heard about stories. I don't know about 3 or 4 hours, but I have heard about people that, like, because I remember hearing about a kid. I think it was a little boy, but maybe not. And I think he either like broke through the ice or something like that, and he drowned in like a really, really cold pond. Yeah. And he was down there for a while. It wasn't 4 hours.
More like 90 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like an hour or something like that. And he was revived and he was fine. Like, he didn't have any brain damage or anything.
It's
like
because of that low temperature, the brain doesn't rot.
Yeah, and it just kind of like goes. It seems to go into suspended animation. Yeah. I don't think it always works because
no, they die sometimes.
Because sometimes they just die. Yeah. But every now and then, like I said, you might as well, if you find like a human popsicle, you might as well like fucking try to bring it back. Like it doesn't hurt anything.
And I don't think there will be.
And they might appreciate it.
I don't think there'll ever be any reliable suspended animation like you see in the science fiction movies for space travel. You might be able to do that for a few hours, but you wouldn't be able to do that for months and years, like they're talking about.
I think that would like fuck you up after a while. I would think.
I don't think it wouldn't work out.
I mean,
the human body is more complicated, real complicated.
It is very complicated, and the thing about it is like I don't know, it's like really complicated, and it's also like it's really resilient, but it's also like kind of delicate in a lot of ways too. Like you can't fuck with it too much.
What would be a lot better? We're getting way off topic. Okay, what would be a lot better?
What else?
Suspended animation is just to have a bunch of damn fertilized eggs in there, and before the ship gets to the destination, it grows all those eggs in a fucking synthetic womb and a robot raises them, all as children, and educates them. So they arrive when they arrive to their destination, they're about 15 years old and they're fully trained. That's how you do it.
Well, yeah,
they don't have to be adults when they leave. They could be unborn when the ship leaves.
And the thing about it too is that would probably be better for their mental health because they wouldn't know any different.
They wouldn't know any
they're
different.
just like, oh, this is life. You know what I mean? They wouldn't know.
They wouldn't have to wait that fucking 200 years or fucking 50 years of journey.
That would be a better idea.
Yeah, and then there'd be just a fucking real good android robots that fucking acts like mom and dad to them, and explains to them that you guys are different than where you came from. This is a space mission. You're the best genes we could possibly get. You're all genetically engineered. Supermen, you're going to colonize this new planet.
Murder Hornet said, set Tom a 55-gallon drum of Astroglide.
What's that? Lube?
Yeah, it's
lube. He's trying to get me to do that anal lube.
In preparation for the famous pegging scene.
We were talking about Tom Hardy in this famous back arch photo. Zach sent me from fucking Tom Hardy's fucking old MySpace page. Dude had back arch like a female porn star. He was really trying to
better than that.
Better, yeah. He was. Jenny's like, God damn. But
I was like, wow, he's flexible.
He was trying his hardest to get cast. He was going to get work in Hollywood.
Well, it worked. That butt angle, that was something else. I didn't even think that was possible. I didn't think that was even possible. Crazy. I mean, he's probably real good at twerking.
He's a twerk master, I'm sure.
Twerk master.
The British twerk master.
Zach says, Jesus Christ, the ungodly things I'd do if I walked into a room and found that. It's just served right up there. It's served right up on a platter. All right, so should we talk about the show now before people start getting mad?
Please.
I mean, nobody seems to be getting mad, but I'm always kind of like, well, if I title it that, then probably we should talk about that at some point.
Talk about this case. I'm going to talk about this case.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of were talking about it because we talked about because she was dead.
We were talking about NDEs and shit.
Yeah, but which this does kind of like revolve around that.
Yeah.
So this happened in 2005. This is season 5, episode 10, I think it was. Yeah, it was called Death's Door, in case we didn't mention that. So this happened in 2005 in Lafayette, Indiana. Now the woman's name is. Here's what's weird. Her name is Victoria, and then I thought on the show that the narrator said her last name was Denier, but when I looked it up on Wikipedia, it just says that her last name is Dane. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I don't know who's right. So she's like a single mom, and she has a daughter named Anna. I don't think Anna's like factors into it a little bit. They didn't say how old she was, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So basically, she's got like a full-time job. She's also finishing a master's degree at Purdue, so she's very busy, as you can see. So one morning in June of 2005, as we mentioned earlier, she has to have an emergency appendectomy. And one of the nurses fucks up and ODs her on like pain meds, or like mixes two together that aren't supposed to be mixed, or something like that. And it essentially kills her. And they do pronounce her dead. So she's dead for, they said, 5 minutes and 42 seconds. But then, after that, she wakes back up. And then probably the nurses were like, please don't sue us. You know what I mean? But I would have sued them anyway, just saying. Yeah, so she wakes up, and obviously she didn't know where she was. And she said she didn't see anything. Like I said, she didn't see a light or a tunnel or none of that shit. She said it was just nothing. It was just darkness. So she actually recovers pretty quickly. So 24 hours later, they let her go back home, and she's fine. She said she even had enough energy to, like, go back to the house and do some fucking spring cleaning and shit like that. So she goes up to the attic and starts straightening up there. This is a rented house, I should note. So in this little cubby in the attic, she finds these 2 boxes, which do not belong to her. She doesn't know whose they are. One of the boxes has, like, a bunch of military uniforms and stuff like that in it. And then the second box had like a remote control, like a toy helicopter.
Yeah, and it wasn't one of the nice ones. It was one of the cheap ones you get like at 7-Eleven.
Yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, they're like the $10 ones.
Yeah, it was just little. It was like a little black thing. So she brings it out, and she says to her daughter, she's like, look at this neat thing that I found up in the attic. Like, I don't know whose this was. And there's no batteries in the remote control, very clearly. However, the helicopter turns on by itself. Like, she said the little lights started flashing on it, and the propeller started going around, like, really, really fast. It didn't, like, take off, it didn't seem like, but it just kind of, like, spun, like, around on the coffee table.
Yeah.
And the daughter's like, what the fuck? She's like, I thought you said there were no batteries. So they, like, checked again, and there's no batteries, and they're like, what? Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's just, like, some kind of weird glitch or something like that.
Static.
Yeah, I mean, well, what would you think? I mean, you know what I mean? That it would just come on by itself like that. So she's like, it did that for a couple of minutes, and then it just, like, stopped.
I think they're making a mistake. They said there was no battery. That type of helicopter that they were showing does not have a detachable battery. It's a permanently installed battery that you recharge by hooking a charging cable into it. Okay? So maybe they were looking for a battery that comes out. No battery comes out of that. There's just a charging port on the side of it. And maybe there was a little bit of charge left in it, that battery. Might have been somebody fully charged it maybe months prior.
Maybe. Yeah,
and
we don't...
there was a small amount of charge left.
Right.
And they put it on a table, and somebody maybe hit the switch and turned the switch on. Or the switch was almost on, and setting it down, it slowly kind of turned on, and that would cause the lights to flash. Because when you turn them on, the lights flash. And then maybe there was some kind of glitch in the thing, and it you know what I mean, the rotors started moving.
Well, that's
but
what
not enough to lift. Not enough to lift.
That's what they thought too.
It might have been real weak. You know, the battery was real weak because it had been sitting in there for months.
Or however long. I don't know. They weren't real clear about how long that her and the daughter have been living in this house. Like I said, it is rented. They're renting it. But I don't know how long they've been living there.
Yeah, I'd have to see the phenomenon myself.
Yeah, I'm sure they dramatized it for the thing. Because on the show, they made it seem like it was, like, spinning around and flashing and blah, blah, blah. And maybe it wasn't that. I'm sure it wasn't
not been that dramatic, but they said there's no battery in it.
Right.
Well, yeah, if you're expecting there to be a AA in there, no. It's an onboard little built-in battery. It's small. So there's no place to remove it. It's in there forever.
So the remote control doesn't have a battery in it?
It does. The remote control does, but not the helicopter.
Right, I got you.
There's a charging cable that comes off the remote control, and you plug it into the side of the helicopter, and it'll sit there and reach like a full charge in about 15 minutes, and it'll fly for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Well, fun's over.
Yeah, fun's over.
Now we got to charge it again for several hours.
So that thing may have been
for another 30 seconds.
So when they said there's no battery, there's no battery. No battery you can remove. So I think they're playing a game with us there. Of course, there's a battery in there. It's built in.
Murder Hornet said, "Why even tell her she died? Avoid the lawsuit altogether. She was none the wiser."
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder why they didn't think of that. Maybe that happens all the time, and they're like, shh, don't tell them they were dead. We're gonna get fucking sued. Yeah, I don't even know why they. By the way, you were dead, because I don't know. If there wasn't really any reason to tell them, then I guess there really isn't any reason to tell you. I'm not sure if I'd want to know or not, to be honest with you. Maybe I would, but I'm not really sure. I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. But yeah.
Maybe they informed the family that she died.
Huh?
Maybe they had informed the family that she had died.
Well, I don't think it had been that long. I don't think it had got to a thing. Because usually it's a thing where they had only just, I mean, at least according to the reenactment, I don't know how accurate this was, but they had only just pronounced her dead.
Right.
But see, I thought they worked on you longer than that, like before they were actually like, well, we give up. You know what I mean? Fill out the fucking death certificate. But maybe they just knew, or they were like, we're tired. It's the end of the shift. Maybe. I don't know. So, you know. So Victoria calls up the landlord, like the lady that owns the house that they live in, and asks where this stuff in the attic came from. She's like, whose shit is this? This is like the old residents that they left here or something like that. But the landlord said, I don't know where it came from. Like, you know, so I don't know if she knew that it belonged to the old people that lived there or whatever. But she's like, I don't know where it came from. So Victoria's like, well, I'm just going to put all this shit back in the boxes and stick it right back where I found it. And I'm just like not going to worry about it anymore, which is probably the best thing to do, you know, all things considered. 3 weeks later, in the middle of the night, the TV comes on by itself, like out in the living room. So Victoria's sleeping, Anna's sleeping. And then, so it comes on, and it starts, like, flipping through all the channels. Like, it was pretty creepy, like, the way they did it on the show. Like, every now and then they should be, like, you know, it'd be, like, here's a TV show, and here's another TV show, and Demon Face, and then there's another TV show, and then another Demon Face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what really happened or not. But she just said that TV kept coming on by itself. So she goes in there, and she's like, what the fuck? And she's, like, looking at it, and then it turned off. And then, because, like, Anna came down and was like, what the hell is going on down here? And, like, the TV went off, and then she's like, okay, whatever. So she goes back in her room, and then 5 minutes later, she said it did the same thing. Like, the TV turned on in the living room again, and then she went out there, and when she went out there to look at it, like, it turned itself off again. So she's like, okay. And again, she's still trying to, like, think maybe it's power surges or something like that. Now, we had the TV come on by itself all the time at our old house, all the time.
And it wasn't always the same TV.
No, it wasn't.
A couple times it was in the bedroom.
Yeah, usually it was the living room TV, but not always. Like, sometimes it was the bedroom. Now, it didn't flip through channels or nothing like that.
It would just go on a screensaver.
It would go to, like, this screensaver.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which is really weird. But, yeah, it happened, like, pretty much, like, every second or third day. Like, I would get up in the morning, I was making my coffee before going to work, and I'd be like, oh, the fucking TV's on
and it'd
again.
be a month that it wouldn't happen. And then it would do it regularly for about a month. And then it would, remember that?
Yeah, like, every couple of days.
Yeah, and then, like... Then it would stop for a couple months, 3 or 4 months. Then it'd do it again for like a couple weeks. It was weird. And that was during the time where some poltergeist shit had happened. It ripped some shit off the fucking trim off the top of the damn cupboards. Threw the remote in front of Jen and Dimitri, friends of ours. They saw it. And I was just kind of zoned out at the time. And my mom was there. She saw it. She was like, did you see that? My mom had knew about the poltergeist, but she never saw it. Her sister, Lois, saw it. She didn't really believe us until she saw that. She's like, it was doing that a lot at Matt? I was like, yeah. Every few minutes it would do stuff like that. Yeah.
Crazy.
That fucking, once I kind of came to, it was like, wow, I did move that, didn't it? I stood up and fucking felt all the hair in the back of my fucking head. I had hair back then. Fucking head stand up like that. I felt the fucking energy go down my fucking spine and like fear. And I fucking looked up like that and I felt like it was coming back. And I looked down. There was a stack of coins at my feet, which made sense at the time. Because I said, I wish it would do something useful, like bring me some money. It brought me some money, but it brought me that was from a fucking nightstand.
Your poltergeist is a smart ass.
Yeah. Brought me the money from the nightstand.
You should have specified an amount.
I wanted a pallet of fucking unmarked hundreds from the fucking bank. That's what I wanted.
How about that?
Yeah.
I don't need a bunch of fucking quarters.
A whole fucking
I'm gonna go get
pallet
some
of hundreds.
Fritos out of the fucking vending machine.
Yeah.
Poltergeist. I want to never have to work again. I want to retire. I want enough money for that.
Yeah.
Bring me that. Thank you.
It was weird shit.
Please and thank you. But yeah, so TV comes on a couple times that night, and she's like, oh, okay, maybe it's power surges, but still, like, creepy. Later on that night, though, she's kind of sleeping, and she hears something, like, whispering her name, like, in her room. Now, at first she thinks it's Anna, her daughter, so she sits up and she's like, what? But she doesn't, she goes in Anna's room, and Anna's still sleeping, and then she goes back in bed, and then she hears it again, and then she realizes that it's actually a man's voice, like, saying her name. And she's like, no man in the house, so I don't know who the fuck that is. I would probably shit my pants thinking it was somebody that had broken in. I wouldn't immediately jump to ghost. I would immediately jump to rapist or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so at this point, she's like, okay, I'm pretty sure this shit's haunted. I think that was when she came to that realization. So she calls up her mom. Now, her mom was also on the show, talking like the real lady. The mom's name was Renee Lopez, I think they said her name was. And so mom is, like, actually pretty supportive, because they said that the women in their family were all kind of, like, mediums, and, like, Victoria's grandma had, like, always been able to see ghosts and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a family thing where everybody kind of knew about it and all believed in that kind of stuff, right? Now, mom advises, because she's like, I'm pretty sure the shit's haunted, so what should I do? And mom says, probably just, you should ignore that shit. You know what I mean? She's like, but do a cleansing just in case. So she does the whole deal with the sage and all of that business. So they said for a few weeks after that, the house was completely calm. Like, nothing weird happened or anything like that. But then, and this is sad. I was bummed out about this. So they have a dog.
Yeah.
They have a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
Now the dog's name, I don't think they said the cat's name. The dog's name is Mozart, which that's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay. It was an adorable dog too. Mozart the dog started acting weird, like he was sick. He wouldn't eat or drink, like he'd be hiding and stuff like that. So Victoria takes him to the vet, but they can't find anything wrong with him. Like, everything looks completely normal. And she's like, we kept taking him back and forth to the vet. All the tests were normal, but it's like the dog just kept getting sicker and sicker. Like, he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink. It's like he seemed like he was in pain all the time because he was like howling and stuff, and they just couldn't figure out what the fuck was going on. And so Victoria was like, maybe, you know, I farted around up there in the attic and, like, you know, unleashed something unwittingly by touching other people's shit. I don't really know. And they ended up, I'm sorry to say, having to put Mozart down because he was in such pain and they couldn't figure out what was.
And there was no
matter
autopsy,
with him.
huh?
Not that they mentioned. I mean, yeah, they didn't mention that. I mean, it could have just been.
There's a lot of shit that could be.
That's what I mean. So, see, that's what I mean. There's, like, a lot of this stuff is kind of like when you lay it all out, like, in a litany of stuff like that, yeah, it sounds, like, super creepy and everything like that. But if it happens over, like, several months or something, a lot of that is probably just, like, coincidence.
Could have swallowed something that had some kind of an intestinal blockage. Might have eaten something that had a damn wire in it, metal wire. That'll fuck you up. We've seen that. Remember that when people eating the wire bristles?
That's exactly what I thought of when you said that. Like, that shit. What was it called? Monsters Inside Me?
Monsters Inside Me,
Which sometimes was, like, about diseases. Like, you'd have, like, tapeworms and shit like that. But a lot of times, too, it was about, like, random shit that you swallowed that you didn't know about. And one of the ones that freaked me out the most.
And this has happened more than once in the series.
And it's happened more than once in the series. Is somebody will, like, you have to go to a summer barbecue or something like that. And then their, like, fucking stomach is all fucked up. Like, one dude started. This is gross, so I'm just warning you ahead of time. But one dude started, like, throwing up shit.
Yep.
And it turned out that he had swallowed a wire bristle off of a grill brush.
Yeah,
which had been stuck, and they'd been cleaning the grill with it, and it got stuck in a burger or something like that.
Stuck on the meat.
And he ate it without knowing.
Yep.
And it, like, poked a hole in his intestines or something like that.
It went down his intestines, got lodged in there. It stuck through it like a needle, and then the food couldn't pass through that. It was backing up in there.
Oh my God, that was horrifying.
It's got to go somewhere, and he's fucking vomiting up fucking fecal matter and shit.
I was like, we are never cooking anything on the grill ever again.
And that would have you could have done all kinds of testing and not found anything wrong, because that's not cancer. There's nothing being wrong.
It took them a long time to figure it out.
You'd have to, so they would have to go in there and X-ray and go, man, it's intestinal blockage. That's probably what happened to the dog. Something like that. It swallowed something and it couldn't shit.
Yeah,
it killed it. And they didn't have the money to fucking do the test.
That is a horrifying show.
Probably what it was.
I mean, I used
something along that line.
We used to watch it, like, sometimes, like, on the weekends, like, sometimes we would sit there for hours and just like binge it.
Watch
and
Monsters Inside Me.
And they were just like, and I'm just like, this is horrifying and disgusting, and yet I can't look away.
Shit'll give you fucking mental problems.
It will, because you'll, like, think about, like I said, I was just like, holy shit, now there's another thing that I have to worry about. Yeah. You clean the grill with the grill brush. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we're getting a plastic grill brush. Although I don't know if that would be any better.
I don't think they make those grill brushes anymore.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do either, because it's happened more than once.
Every grill brush I've got my hands on was plastic now.
Yeah.
Not metal.
Which, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, would swallowing a sharp plastic thing be any better, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it would be.
Because it wouldn't be as sharp, and you can't really digest plastic, but it's softer.
Yeah,
it would bend. It would make its way out. People have swallowed all kinds of plastic before without any ill effect. You just crap it out.
You just crap it out.
Yeah. There's a bunch of shit that you can eat. You wouldn't think you could eat it.
I mean,
but you can eat it without.
I mean, don't
eat it. There's a lot of stuff people have eaten and they just pass it out later.
Yeah. But yeah, that is like
little kids swallowed a Hot Wheel car one time and they just passed it out. You shitting out a Hot Wheel car. Remember that?
Can you imagine that being your kid and you're this
Hot Wheel car
this is your mom and just like, this is my life now. I have to wait here for this fucking kid to poop out a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah. But he didn't wait.
Fuck my life.
He didn't wait. It just.
I know, but I'm just saying. It's just like that's so.
Kid had to probably drink vegetable oil. Yeah. Lube that shit up. Yeah, right, Zach.
Get that. Get that.
I got you, Zach. I'm gonna
get that out of there. Jesus Christ! How do we get on these topics?
I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. So
I ask, but I know why.
Yeah.
I know how to do.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, well, because we were talking about poor Mozart the dog. R.I.P. Mozart.
Yeah.
So then I found out too, like after the dog died, they also had a cat, and I was like, oh no, nothing bad ever happened to that cat. It's bad enough that like the little doggy died, but they said a month after the dog died, like the cat started acting weird too. Like I started acting the same, like real sick and everything. And at this point, I mean, good for the lady. She like put her foot down. She's like, okay, I'm not like losing my cat too on top of all of this. So they didn't even say what the cat's name was, which I thought was kind of. I was gonna say racist, but it's not.
Yeah, it's racist. That's racist.
But you know what I mean. So they didn't say, but so the cat didn't die, as far as I know. As far as I know, they got out the fuck out of there before like something bad happened to the cat, because they saw something was happening to the cat, and they were like, okay, yeah, that's not happening. So basically, what she's now see, this is another one where I think the people did the right thing, where they were just like, look, this fucked up shit has happened in this house. The dog died, and whether or not it had anything to do with the supernatural whatever that was going on, I don't know. But they believed that it did, and they're just like, oh, fuck this, we're not hanging around. We're not losing the cat too. It's like, I'm done with this shit. So they moved, and they moved from Indiana to New Mexico, because New Mexico was where Victoria's parents lived. So they went out there like to live near her parents. They were like, yeah, we're just going to try and get away from this, whatever the fuck this is. So Victoria ends up getting a job in Santa Fe, like as a lab tech or something like that. And when they first get there, a month goes by and nothing happens. So they're just like, oh, good, we escaped this, whatever the fuck it was. However, when I wasn't clear, did they move in with her parents? I think it was her parents' house, and then her and the daughter moved in with the parents, I thought.
Yeah, I wasn't even following it at that level. I was just mostly keeping track of what the phenomenon was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she moved in with her mom.
I think she moved in with her mom and dad. It was confusing because it seemed like at one point she went to a house and like talked to her mom, and I'm like, wait, I thought they lived in the same house. What the fuck's going on? So I don't know if they like live next door. I don't know. But so yeah, so she's in New Mexico now. In the middle of the night, someone starts pounding on the front door. And Victoria said on the show, like the real woman, she's like, I immediately knew what it was. I immediately knew that fucking supernatural whatever the fuck had followed me, like all the way to New Mexico. She knew it wasn't a person. And so she's like, so she opened the door and she's like, sure enough, nobody was there. It was just like pounding. Yeah,
we had the doorbell ring in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. Jenny heard it. She said it rang twice, and she woke me up. There was nobody there. What time was it? About 3, 4?
It was 4 something. 4:30, something like that.
She was fucking scared. I said, you didn't dream it? She goes, no. No, I was awake.
I told you the first time I was awake. Okay, I knew that. I heard it the first time, and I was like, holy shit. I didn't think it was a ghost. I thought it was a person. And I'm like, why the fuck is somebody ringing the doorbell at 4:30 in the morning? That's never good. I was like, that's like a fucking murderer. So that's what I thought. But I was like, well, maybe I imagined it. Like after a minute or 30 seconds or something, I'm just like, well, it's possible I could imagine it. I'm like, I'm 99.9% sure that I was wide awake at the time. I wasn't sleeping. It didn't wake me up. I was already awake. And then I was like, okay, maybe I didn't hear it. I tried to like talk myself out of it, but then it rang again. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I know I fucking heard it that time. Yeah. And that's when I woke you up.
Yeah.
If it hadn't rung again, I wouldn't have woke you.
I grabbed my Walther P99.
Yeah, because I thought it was a person.
Yeah. I had that .40 caliber ready. I was fucking.
I thought it was.
Look down there and trying to look through the window to see if there was anybody at the door because I didn't want to go to the door.
Yeah, because the door in the old house
and shit,
Well, that's what I was thinking. The door in the old house was glass, like the front of it was glass. Like we had like blinds over it, but like you could still see out.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see in a little bit like around the sides. And so I was thinking, I didn't think, like I said, I didn't think ghosts. The first thing I thought was that's gonna be one of those situations where somebody comes up and is like, "Help! There's been an accident," and then like you go and open the door, and then they fucking
and 5 guys run
and then they bust in.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking that too. So I was trying to look through all the windows to see the door. There was nobody at the door.
There was nobody there.
And then I fucking went to the door itself and fucking looked out through the peephole and then opened it. There was nothing there. And then came back and says, there's nothing there.
It was pretty creepy.
I believed her, though. I had to ask, though, you sure you weren't asleep? She said, no, sure. And it was like,
no, I was
she
awake.
Scared.
I was awake before the first one.
Yeah.
But I questioned myself because that's what you do.
And I think about a week before that happened, the garage door opened in the middle of the night by itself.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
That happened more than once, but I remember.
No, that only happened once.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, that only happened once.
Yeah. Oh, and the door from the
garage to the
laundry room
that
opened by itself too.
That was weird.
That was weird.
Just open.
Which it couldn't even open that way.
Yeah, and my fucking hair stood up. I was like, whoa. We were looking at it.
Yeah, because I was like, that's not right.
Yeah.
I said that doesn't.
That was during that time when the TV was turning on.
It only closed. You couldn't, and that's the thing. Like, if you were bringing in groceries, like from the garage, for example, you had to like wedge something under it because it closed.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't open like that.
It was an eerie time. It was when we were writing the book.
Yeah. And a little bit after. Like, we were doing a lot of interviews and like shows about it. That's why. Murder Hornet said, I had someone knock on my door in the middle of the night here and nobody was there. Yeah. That's like fucking weird. Fucking weird. But yeah, but it's interesting to me that she said before she even opened the door, when she heard the pounding, that she knew that it wasn't a person. Like, she just had a feeling that it wasn't a person. That's what she said. So she's like, so she sits in the living room of the house, and she's like, eventually it stopped. Now, a little bit later, she's at work. Like I said, she's a lab tech, and she starts like spacing out. And she gets like a nosebleed, and it looked like she kind of like fainted or like went unconscious for a minute and started having seizures. So she said these symptoms that she started having like started in March, I'm presuming of 2006, but I'm not entirely sure, like right around that time. And then by the time November rolled around, she's like, it just kept getting worse and worse. And by the time November rolled around, she was just like really, really sick and like couldn't even fucking function anymore. So her mom said they had like tests done like over the course of a whole year. She kept going back and getting tests for every single thing they could think of, and they couldn't find anything. And she's getting sicker and sicker, and she's starting to think to herself, you know, these are the same kinds of symptoms that the dog had. And so she's starting to think maybe that it's like some kind of supernatural, like it's, I don't know, like it's a, she didn't say psychic vampire, but it's something that was kind of like draining her energy or like making her sick, like a negative energy or something like that. That's kind of what she was implying. Because no one can figure out what's the matter with her. So, at one point too, like a little bit past that, she's in her room sleeping, and she said she kind of half woke up and got the feeling that someone was watching her. And then she turns and sees, like, a real scary, like, demon dude, essentially. He was, like, standing in the doorway. In the doorway or in the closet door or something like that. And he just kind of had, like, he looked like the standard haunting demon dude. Like, with the robe and all that.
Yeah, the cowl over his head.
Because that's...
He had his hoodie. His supernatural demonic hoodie.
Demonic hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you know.
I need one of those.
You need a demonic hoodie?
Yeah.
You want me to make you one?
No, I'm going to buy one from Shein. They got one for the gym. It's all sleeveless and everything. It's got a hood. You see that shit?
I've seen ones like that.
Yeah, they got it. I was looking. Shein had some nice ones. They were only like fucking $6.
There you go.
Yeah. Gym stuff.
You can have all kinds of
They
stuff.
got the fucking gym pants and everything. Fucking for booty pants. Zach would love that shit. I don't think I can get that back arch though that Tom Hardy had.
You gotta practice.
I gotta practice, yeah. You'd be down there fucking taking pictures.
I'm gonna have to like push your butt.
Hey, listen.
I'm just like, heave, come on, heave. That's what we're doing.
That's funny.
Well, you know. You're always telling me to do that, like to practice, like sticking my butt out and stuff like that.
You gotta.
So you gotta do it too. If I gotta do it,
if I gotta do it, you gotta.
Showtime's
gonna be here soon, man. Once OnlyFans flies up, once OnlyFans starts up, and we get the fucking stream made going, you're gonna have to be twerking, man. We're gonna have twerk lessons.
We'll both go to twerk class.
Twerk class.
I want you to twerk too, especially in the...
I gotta twerk.
Well, yeah,
okay,
Bill, especially because, hey, you bought those fucking jockstrap thing underwear with your little ass hanging out. And
I gotta twerk with that.
So I was like, I'm afraid you're gonna have to twerk in this.
That's funny. That's funny.
And I'm gonna videotape it and put it online.
You send that shit to have people critique that, right?
Sure. Okay. Just look at your twerking technique.
What kind of trouble have I got myself into?
Hey, this is your idea.
What is my idea?
You know what a terrible person I am, so I don't know why you even agreed. I can come up with all kind of crazy shit. You don't even want to get me started.
I've had too much to drink.
Yeah, you've had a lot more than me. I'm only just sipping because I'm like, I'm trying to talk and stuff.
That shit was strong. I'm halfway through it.
Yeah, I made mine really strong too, but I've only like drunk a little.
Vodka punch, man.
Yummy. Yeah. This Publix like punch is
public
like, really
punch.
Good.
Hey,
Public punch.
Public punch. Pow. It's their generic punch for a whole 2 liter, like $1.10. And it's like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Tiki punch? It's like that. Mm-hmm. It's like Hawaiian punch, but it's carbonated. It's good. It's a great mixer.
It is very good with vodka.
It's good with vodka. It's good with tequila.
Although I'm gonna say like pretty much everything's better with vodka in it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good with silver tequila in it too, man. Real good.
So yeah, how much have I got left?
You got some.
Not a lot. It's not, because it's super messy. I have really really neat handwriting, but I'm trying to like write fast, so it's like this looks really messy. Sometimes it's so messy that it's like I can't even read what I wrote, and I'm like, wow, that's shameful. But yeah, so seeing a demon dude in your bedroom, which that's a little bit alarming. So of course she was just like fucking terrified. So over the next month, she just keeps getting sicker and sicker, and she said she just kept looking for a rational explanation. Finally, one doctor says, I was like, was it Dr. House? Because he said maybe it's lupus. And I guess nobody had checked for that. That's kind of the joke about that show House, was that he would always, no, it's not lupus. But yeah, so they asked if it was lupus, and she hadn't been tested for that. And it's like, well, that's kind of what your symptoms are like. Has anybody asked you about that? And she's like, no, actually, nobody has said that. So they gave her some medication for lupus, and she's like, and she seemed like she was getting better, but then when they did the test for lupus, it was negative. So she's like, whatever. But the medicine did seem to work to some degree. So then, at some point, she starts hearing, like, she's in the house and she hears, like, this little girl, like, giggling, like, in the hall or some shit. And then it turns out that Victoria can now see ghosts, like, big as life, or big as afterlife, I guess. So she sees, like, these two kid ghosts, like, standing in the hallway, like a little boy and a little girl. And she said it was scary, but she said they weren't menacing. They were just kind of, like, standing there, kind of looking at her, questioning, like, what, like, you can see us? Wow, that's crazy. Like, just that kind of thing. Now, at this point, she's still trying to find a rational explanation, which, more power to her. She's like, maybe the medication they're giving me for the lupus is, like, making me hallucinate. Which, yeah, that's probably the first thing you would think. So she does a bunch of research and calls other doctors, and they're like, no, that's usually not something that particular drug does. So she's like, okay, guess it's not that. 3 nights after that, she actually goes out to the kitchen in the middle of the night to get a drink and sees a female ghost, like a woman in kind of like an old-fashioned, like a big-ass dress and stuff like that. And she kind of like turns and like vanishes, right? So at this point, Victoria goes to her mom and tells her, I've been seeing all these ghosts, pretty much, so what do you think I should do about that? Mom says maybe the ghosts that you're seeing have something to do with Starvation Peak, which I guess is a story that a lot of people around this area, it's like near Santa Fe, I think. Which I've been to Santa Fe, but I don't remember hearing about this story before. But apparently the legend goes that, or the history goes, that there was a Native American hunting party, and all the men went out hunting, and there was a group of settlers that came into the village and killed like all the women and children, like the American Indians. And so the Native Americans were mad, understandably. So they're like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to drive all these settlers, like they trapped them up on this mountain that's called Starvation Peak now. And they're like, if they come down, we're going to kill them. And it's like, we're just going to leave them up there until they then like starve them out, like hence why it's called Starvation Peak. So they said everyone around there like knows this legend. And Mom is like, well, maybe that's why there's so many ghosts around in this area, because of like all of the bad shit that happened around here. Although, like I said, bad shit happened everywhere. You'd think this place would be fucking crawling with ghosts, because there's all kind of terrible things have happened like over the centuries. So Mom figures, well, I'm gonna smudge the house again just in case. You can never be too sure. So then they said stuff quieted down for a little bit, but then there was like a what is that word that I wrote down? Closed something. Open by itself. Closet door open by itself. Okay. I guess that's what that says. Like I said, I have really neat handwriting, but when I'm trying to write really fast, I don't know what it says because I'm trying to do like shorthand. You know what I mean? And then the demon fucker guy is like, he's all growling and shit, and he like jumps at Victoria. It seemed like he was like, wow, like he came at her, but then like she was like, holy shit, but then it was gone. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of situation. So she's like, okay, I'm not sleeping in this fucking bedroom anymore. So she just like goes and sleeps in the living room. And then the next morning, she's getting dressed for work, and she's like, man, what the fuck is up with my back? Like, it's stinging. She said it felt like acid poured on it. And then her mom looks at it, and there's the telltale 3 scratch marks, so you know it's demonic, because that's always how that happens.
Only 3 fingers, yeah.
Only 3 fingers. That's what, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's always 3. And it's funny, too, because they always have, like, the demonologist or whoever, like, very authoritatively, like, telling you, it's like, that's how you know it's demonic, when it's 3s. And I'm just like, okay. I'm sure you really know that, but okay. So, so at this point, you know, they're like, yeah, all the prayers and sage smudging and all that shit, like, we didn't work, obviously. So they decide, well, we're going to call some paranormal investigators and see if they can sort some shit out. Now, evidently, what happened was Victoria said that she contacted a bunch of different paranormal investigators in the area. So I'm assuming she just like emailed them or called them and left messages or whatever. But she said like most of them would not respond to her. So like a month or 2 went by and it's like she didn't hear anything back. Like nobody wanted to help them. Like so I don't know. I don't know if they were just busy or they didn't. I don't know. So finally, though, there's this group called Purple Sage. They were called the Purple Sage Paranormal Society, I think is what they were called. And they call her back and they're like, okay, well, we'll try and help you out. So they for some reason, they didn't really explain like their reasoning for this, but they said they wanted to meet with her at first off-site. So they said they met at a hotel and like talked to her about the case. I don't know why they didn't go to the house immediately, but I don't know. They didn't really explain like why they did that. Now, it turns out, they didn't actually say this until much later in the show, but Victoria had actually done 3 tours in Iraq. She was in the Marines. She was like a medic, which, like I said, they didn't really mention that at the beginning, but they did mention it here. So she's at the hotel talking to the paranormal people. Now, one of the paranormal people is a psychic sensitive woman, and her name is Denise. And she says that she feels like there's something in the house that's like sucking out Victoria's energy, right? And then the psychic in the hotel room starts feeling kind of shitty, like starts feeling kind of sick. And then she also says that nobody else sees them, but she says she sees a little boy and a little girl ghost and a woman like and described like the outfit she was wearing. And then Victoria said, holy shit, I didn't tell her any of that, but she described the ghost that I saw in my house. Like I said, I don't know if this is true or not. This is what she said. The psychic also says she sees a quote-unquote darker spirit, which she described, and she's like, yeah, that's the same one that Victoria has been seeing. Now, another member of the paranormal team, whose name is Roger, also starts feeling sick, like a couple minutes after Denise does. Like, they start getting, like, ooh, like, they're, like, all nauseated and everything. So they figure, well, you must have picked up some shit, like, back in Indiana, and it followed you to New Mexico. Another thing they noticed, too, was they had, like, an EMF meter going, like Roger did, and there was a spike on the EMF meter, and he's like, and when the spike went away, like, he said everyone started feeling better, like, the sickness went away. So the investigators, they said, we don't usually do this, but because of the weird shit that was going on, it's like, well, can we come to the house right now? Like, we want to see what's going on, you know, right now. So when they got to the house, they said from the outside, they couldn't really feel anything. They said it actually looked really pleasant and peaceful and everything like that. But then once you get inside, it was kind of like a different story. Now, the team tells Victoria, they said, just show us around the house like you were showing it to a real estate agent or something. Don't talk about the paranormal shit because we don't like want them to know that we're here or like what our intentions are or anything. So she's just like kind of showing them around. So, what?
I'm talking to Bill. Remember, he's answered that question. We had that problem with that video. You know, the resolution came out. Mm-hmm. It was magenta. Magenta's long wavelength. Low light magenta had it been red, it'd been a little bit different. So
Yeah.
the colors have a lot to do with it.
Well,
So especially if you're up at fucking like 4K. He says his $3,000 camera has problems in the low lights and some of these weird colors.
yeah. I mean,
So funny how a phone could kick a camera's ass, though. Isn't that funny?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit on my phone comes out really
Yeah.
good. And my phone is like a super cheap old phone.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's like not even a new one.
Yeah.
It's not
her phone,
old, but
her phone takes beautiful fucking photos.
seriously, I take pictures of that phone, like selfies and stuff like that, especially with the new lights and stuff. I don't even have to do shit to them. I'm like, holy crap, that looks amazing.
He says run white lights on it was slightly dimmer than the color. Lights got to be bright too, especially for 4K.
Yeah, I mean, for video is different. Like I said, for
Right.
the selfies, when I'm really close to the camera,
Yeah.
like I like that soft pink light. I think it looks really good, but you know what I mean. But for video, you need brighter light, and especially if you have like, you know, maybe those cameras don't like have a good low light setting. Ben said a funny thing. He said there is a reciprocal haunting agreement between certain states. When you move from one to the other, spirits are able to transfer to your new property. That's
Yeah.
how that works out. Yeah, he was just able to like, oh, you guys are going. I'm going too. I'm going too. It's the rules. But yeah. So they said, well, while they're in the house, they said they're just doing the preliminary walkthrough today. They're not going to like do anything crazy or anything. So, which is why they didn't want the ghosties to like know that they were in there. But they said, regardless of that, the psychic, whose name was Denise, and the other guy, whose name was Roger, they said they definitely felt like the entity like moving past them. And Roger said, because the real guy was on the show, and he's like, and it wasn't subtle either. It wasn't just like a little, ooh, I felt a little, it's like, you know, your hair blew back and everything like that. Like the whole, like the dude like was like, whoosh, you know. And then he took a picture, because Denise said, oh, he just came through the bedroom and went into the bathroom over there. And Roger took a picture of the bathroom, like he kind of went around the door frame like that and like took a picture into the bathroom. And apparently they didn't show the real photo. They showed one, I'm assuming, that was just like a, you know, a fake one that they made for the show. But Victoria said the picture that he showed me looked exactly like the thing that I saw all the time, like the demonic oozes. So I don't know. I don't know what the real photo looked like. But they said that it turned up in the photo. So, make of that what you will. So a few days later, the investigators turn up to do their thing. So they send Anna away, they send the parents away. Victoria's still there. So they start up in Victoria's parents' room. So like I guess it is all, they do all live in one house. Because they said that's where it seemed the safest. Like they didn't really have any reports of any activity in that room. So they start using, I love this, they start using what they call light source communication, because they have to give everything like a cool sounding name. This is essentially you just putting two flashlights in a room and asking the flashlights questions. And supposedly the ghost is supposed to turn the flashlight on for yes, or like make it blink 2 times for yes, or whatever, like however you have it set up. So the ghost is supposed to turn off and on the flashlight to answer your questions. So it's basically like an EVP, but like an even more cheap jack version. But I just like think it's funny that they call it light source communication, but it's literally just like a flashlight. You're asking questions to a flashlight.
Yeah, you have a technical.
Yeah,
we
technical
will go to light source communication. Yes, that's right, Roger. Activate light source. You got Spock down there. We are now communicating with the entity. Light source communication activated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets like the fucking flashlight off of his key ring.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like, here, put that over there. Now it has to go some shit. Ooh, it came on.
May I have your tricorder, Mr. Sulu?
It's just, I don't know. It's funny to me how they make everything sound like more big and epic than it actually is.
Yeah.
Light source communication. Yeah, talking to a flashlight is what you're doing. So, I mean, you know, not to be an asshole. I'm just saying.
No, you're being an asshole. No, I'm just saying. You're not being an No, it is. It is what it is.
I know. I don't care.
They're fucking gonna make technical terminology for fucking talking to this ghost through a flashlight.
Through a flashlight, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the theory behind it is that ghosts find it very easy to turn flashlights off and on. So they're trying not to like strain the ghosts, energy. Like you're trying not to wear them out. So I guess it's easy for the ghost to turn a flashlight on and off. So
Good.
that's, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just making it up. I don't know. So they said at first they're asking a bunch of questions to the flashlight. They actually used 2 flashlights. I'm not really sure why. They didn't explain why they had needed 2. But maybe just so like, well, because it's like if it was just one, they could argue that it's like, oh, maybe that was just like glitching out or whatever. But if it was like 2 of them, they're like, oh, well, if both of them are coming on and off at like various times, then you know that it's like paranormal or whatever. I don't know. That's my idea. I'm not really sure. But so they said that at first they're asking the flashlights like all of these questions and nothing was happening, which, you know, is not really a surprise. But then Denise and Victoria, both of them, sensed that whoever or whatever this entity was didn't like Roger for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with Roger. He seemed like a perfectly nice person, but okay. So yeah, they don't like Roger. So they're like, hey, Roger, you know, get the fuck out and we'll see if he'll talk to us like when you're not here. And then we can talk about Roger. Like, what? Maybe the ghost wanted to talk about Roger, like while they were gone. But yeah, so they tell Roger to leave the room. And they said that as soon as Roger left the room, then when they started asking questions of the flashlights, then the flashlights started like answering and like lighting up and stuff. So basically the flashlight ghost said that it had been with her when she died, and that it had followed her. So that they confirmed like what they had thought, like it had followed her to New Mexico. And what they presumed, like from asking the flashlight the questions, was that when Victoria died on the operating table, like she brought a hitchhiker from the other side, much like the Haunted Mansion at Disney World, where they always say that you're gonna have like a hitchhiker at the end and it's like sitting on your head and shit, like when you're leaving. So it's kind of like that, except
on your head and shit.
Well, one of them was like yeah, last time I went to Disney with my sister like a couple months ago, like there's one that was like sitting up on her head. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, so this like hitchhiked from the other side. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna go back over to the land of the living and fuck some shit up. I don't know. Denise felt that this was a very angry dude who had done bad things when he was alive. Now, I don't know how they knew this exactly. I guess she's psychic, okay, so that's like her story and she's sticking to it. But in the reenactment, they made it look like the dude was like a gangbanger. Like he's just like, hey, I'm shooting people in a drive-by and shit like that. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of crap. I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. And that he was maybe in like some kind of like purgatorial kind of situation, and then like when he was just like farting around in purgatory, and then he's like, hey, here's this lady that is kind of dead for a second, and then like maybe she's going back to life. They were just like, shoop, I'm just gonna latch right on and I'm gonna go back to the living world and fuck around for some reason. I don't know. So they found out like from the flashlight that I don't know if they found it from the flashlight.
From the flashlight.
The flashlight told them that I don't know, maybe the psychic just came up with this. But she said that the ghosts that Victoria had been seeing, like the 2 kids and the woman, she's like they didn't follow her. Like they're like, what happened was you died, and then when you came back, it was just, you know, it was like a Sixth Sense kind of situation where it's like you died, you came back to life, and then you can see ghosts now. Although the kid in Sixth Sense didn't die first, he could just see ghosts anyway. Yeah. But yeah, so she's like, well, they were just here, so you can just suddenly see them. They didn't follow you or nothing like that. But so they decide to try and send the asshole ghost like into the light. Like they're all gonna help him out. Because they're like, well, they didn't think it was a demon, even though they kind of hinted toward with the 3 scratch marks and all that they were going to go in a demonic direction. But to their credit, they didn't do that. They didn't call in the church. They didn't do nothing like that. They said this was a person. This was like the ghost of a person. He was just a dick. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was like he was just an asshole ghost. So they're like, but we can still help him. Like everybody, like the psychic said, I believe everyone can be redeemed and can go into the light and blah, blah, blah. So she's like, so we're going to help him out. So they all like get together and do like a prayer circle or whatever the fuck. And then while they're doing that, like the flashlight starts like flickering like crazy. And then Roger is like, well, it started flickering. It's like, so we weren't really sure if like the asshole ghost was mad at us or if it was because he was like happy that we were helping him, or we weren't really sure because I guess the flashlight was just flickering back and forth. So Denise tells Victoria, well, you're the one that lives here, and you're the one that he latched onto, so you're the one that has to tell him to get the fuck out. Like, he doesn't belong here, and it's like, tell him to piss off, like, into the light like a good ghost, and that should be the end of it. So then they do this whole, like, dramatic thing where they're saying all this stuff, and then the flashlight keeps flashing, and on and off, on and off, on and off, and then, like, it suddenly stops, and then energy dissipated, the light stopped flashing. She said felt like a weight lifted off her, blah, blah, blah. So, ever since that, which again, a little anticlimactic, this didn't have like a big exorcism with like fucking shit flying around and everything like that. It was just like a flashlight going on and off, pretty much. But since then, Victoria said she hasn't seen the asshole ghost. But
I haven't seen that asshole. That's funny.
Well, I mean, if you got to be haunted by a ghost,
yeah.
I mean, that kind of sucks. I mean, it'd be like an asshole ghost. You want like a nice ghost that'll help you out and shit. But
Mrs. Muir.
Yeah,
and he was hot.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you tell me where some treasure is? Like, wash my dishes or something like that.
He was hot and he waited for her.
Yeah. But she said, so she doesn't see the asshole anymore, so he presumably went to the light and blah, blah, blah. And now he's fine. He went to heaven and got forgiven and yada, yada. But she still sees the other spirits, like, all the time. And, like, the massacre ghosts, like, they're assuming. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess they can stick around because they're not causing any trouble and they're not causing her any distress. They're not doing anything. She just sees them. However, she said she does wish that she could stop seeing them, though, because it is, like, kind of upsetting, which I can understand that. But you know what I mean. But at least she's not seeing the demon-y ghost, like, popping out her closet anymore, going like, ha! You know what I mean? Because that's a shitty thing to do to somebody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you spend your afterlife doing that?
I ain't worried about it.
That sounds like some shit you would do.
No.
Like, after you were dead, you're just, I'm gonna go fuck with people.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure about this case. To me, there's not a lot about it that's compelling. Just, that was her experience. That's their story, Me personally, I don't think there's much to this. I just got a weird feeling about it.
Well, now a lot of it was subjective.
Subjective stuff, yeah.
Other than a few things like the knocking and maybe
still there's not a lot of witnesses.
The helicopter coming on by itself and shit like that. But yeah, it seemed kind of minor. Like a lot of it was, and a lot of it could have been coincidence, like the dog getting sick and then her getting sick.
The helicopter could have been coincidence, or it could have been technical issues with that.
Yeah, possibly.
So I don't know. I just kind of think it's a weak case. Now the near-death experience might be real, but she said she didn't see anything.
Which that was really interesting to me, that she just said, because you would think, in a way that sort of made her, like, I don't know if I believe this story either, but I'm saying in a way that sort of made her more credible, because you'd think
that she could make something up.
That she would just make something up. Like, if she was kind of gunning to be like, oh, I brought a hitchhiker back with me from the afterlife.
I went to hell and I saw a thing there, and then when I came back,
like, it was like fucking around in my closet.
Because that would be even a better story.
Right. But the fact that she said I didn't see anything, in a way, kind of makes her more, like, me believe her a little bit more.
Yeah, it might be true.
Right.
That part might be true. The rest of it might be misidentification. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. This was a case where it was mostly subjective. You would have to be there, to know.
Yeah, and she's like the only one seeing the ghosts, really. Yeah. Like, other than the psychic saying that she saw them too, and like described them the same.
You call a psychic into the scene, man, they're gonna tell you anything.
I'm always kind of like skeptical of that. John Gora said, I wouldn't be a malevolent ghost. I'd just hide things on people like their keys, wallets, coffee cups, just for giggles.
Shit, it's you doing that.
Now we know.
Now we know who's doing this shit.
Because that happens to me all the time. Although I just thought it was because I'm dumb and forgetful, and like I put shit down, and I'm just like, where the fuck did I put that?
1 second think she's dumb. Do not for 1 second think Jen's dumb. Jen's fucking sharp as a tack.
Yeah, not much gets past me.
No,
well, I don't know about that, but...
Yeah.
Some shit gets past me, I'm not gonna lie. Most shit doesn't get past me.
Yeah.
Most shit doesn't get past me.
Jen's pretty sharp.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Look at Pookie trying to get underneath the damn cat. She's trying to go underneath.
Wait a minute.
The carpet.
I gotta see this.
Trying to go underneath the rug, huh? There's nothing under there. She thinks there's a damn cavern in there, cave. You're gonna go in the Pookie cave, huh? Okay. All right, so this is that's it for this case, huh?
Yeah, that was the end of it. That was the end of it.
All right.
So we can talk about some other stuff, or we can wrap it up.
Shit, we've probably been on for longer than an hour. We can go ahead and wrap this up.
Hour and 20 minutes, actually.
Yeah.
Hour and 20 minutes is how long we've been on. All right, so, bye.
No, I'm straightening the rug out, man.
Oh, okay. Oh, because Pookie was trying to, climb
she's trying to get
there.
underneath it. Yeah.
Well, every now and then, you'll come into the room, where the rug is, and you'll just see her little butt sticking out from underneath the rug.
She loves going underneath the rug.
And then you pick it up, and she's just like, what?
Yeah.
I just her little ass.
She's funny.
Sticking out. Ben says, I have to run anyway. Catch you all later. Okay. So it's Monday, right? Yeah. So taking the day off tomorrow, at least from live streaming.
Yeah.
Wednesday night's show. Oh, this should be a fun one. We should have a fucking blast with this. I've been wanting to do this topic for a long time, and it finally won in the poll. Best stories from the Weekly World News.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you don't know the Weekly World News?
I knew the Inquirer.
No, the Weekly World News is way better.
Okay, this is... I know what you're talking about.
You know, the one that's in the grocery store thing, they don't have it anymore. It's like they stopped printing. This is the one my
grandmother wouldn't buy.
Yeah.
She wouldn't buy that one. She goes, that's all bullshit. And she would, but she would buy the National Enquirer, and she would buy the Sun.
The National... I didn't even actually know this, but the Weekly World News... was actually, I think it was the same publication company as the National Enquirer.
Yeah, just split.
But they what they did was when the National Enquirer in the 70s, when it went to color, when they went to color printing, they still had the old black and white press, and they're like, well, we can't just waste that. So they're like, let's print this other paper. Yeah. And then they had the idea to just print the most fucking ridiculous shit imaginable.
That's but I had a baby with a Bigfoot, and it was an alien.
Yeah. And so it's all very, very big on Bigfoot stuff, alien stuff, Elvis sightings, mermaids. That's kind of a big thing. They went on a big mermaid tear. Armageddon type of stuff, and of course the infamous and immortal Bat Boy. Who's probably he's like their spokesman at this point. And it's I'm gonna have to sift through. Because I was looking at some of the covers earlier today. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many. I don't know how
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know how I'm gonna pick. I used to buy it every now and then. It was super cheap. It was 25 cents or something.
What was entertainment?
Back in the 90s. Yeah. And it's if they had a really good cover, Hitler was a woman, and it's and then it would have this really bad well, it had this a really bad Photoshop of the top half of Hitler, and somebody had just cut out the bottom half of a skirt and some pumps, and it's they just kind of pasted it together. Well, because the whole aesthetic of it was they don't really want it to look real. But
I remember this.
The whole thing was they wanted it all the stories. They're you have to write them as if it's absolutely true.
See, I remember
even though they were just making them up.
I remember it from the late 70s, early 80s. That's when I remember it.
It started in 79.
Okay.
I feel its heyday was the 80s and 90s.
Right. Yeah.
It stopped. They didn't do the print. They don't do the print one anymore. Since 2007, I think they stopped doing the print version. But they still have a website. But most of it, you can still go on the website and, see all the headlines and, the first paragraph and stuff, but I think it's behind a paywall now. But they still have some great fucking headlines, because I went to the website today and I was like, oh my god, those are still fucking great. It must be so fun. It must be, the funnest job.
Do they have Chuck Tingle working there?
Oh, they should. They should recruit him.
Recruit Chuck Tingle.
I mean, he could be, for all we know, because that's not his real name, obviously. No. So
that might be Chuck Tingle writing for that shit.
That would make sense, because he comes up with some crazy shit too. Yeah. Everybody.
Zach, you ever read Chuck Tingle? My billionaire airplane boyfriend.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Powdered in the butt by my own book. Powdered in the butt by my own book.
Yeah, that he had a whole that was a whole series.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was what shit?
Unicorn general, my gay unicorn general boyfriend.
Yeah, he was
the ghost of my gay unicorn boyfriend general. Fucking, it's just all.
The dude's amazing. I mean, just
he comes up with this fun.
All you don't have to read the stories. I mean, I advise you do, because they're really funny. Yeah. But you can just go on the Wikipedia page and read the titles of his books.
And you'll bust up.
And you'll just like bust up laughing. It will make your day.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh my god, I love that this dude.
They're like Harlequin romance novels for insane gay men.
Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt was the first one, I think. Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt was the first one.
Yeah, that's right.
And
it
then
basically means fucked in the ass by my own ass.
And then,
that's the name of the book. Damn. Ain't this
and then there was a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, after that book got really popular, like, he wrote a sequel that was called Pounded in the Butt by My Book, Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt.
Yeah,
that was the name of it.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a third one, but I can't remember. It got, like, really convoluted. It started to get real convoluted after that. And I couldn't, like, remember. But it's like, he was really good at, like, coming up with shit like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
having sex with dinosaurs, gay dinosaurs.
He's real big on unicorns, dinosaurs. Bigfoot, airplanes, anthropomorphic airplanes.
Yeah,
he's
your
real big on
boyfriend
that.
is a billionaire airplane.
Yeah.
He's an airplane, and he's a billionaire. and he's solving all your problems.
Yeah.
And pounding you in the butt. It's just insane shit.
One of my favorite YouTubers, who is Dominic Noble, he actually did a video because he's like, is Chuck Tingle actually a good writer? So he like picked a whole bunch of Chuck Tingle books and actually read them to like review them. And he's like, you might be shocked to hear this, but these are actually like very well written and like really entertaining. Yeah. Which you wouldn't think. Like you would think that it would.
He has
just
an
like
author page and it says
a one-trick pony, but
it says Chuck Tingle. It shows a picture of the author and it's just a generic photo of a dude in a karate gi.
Yeah.
The fucking red karate gi.
And I've seen some too where it's just like a stick man, like a drawing of a stick man or something. Like but like I said, it's genius. It's genius marketing.
Oh shit, we're getting free money.
Well, hey Jeffy Art. Hey guys, been a while, but been busy with my weekend job. Still listen to you when I come home. Oh,
okay,
that's
thank
good.
you.
That's good.
Thank you. Just trying to get you all through the workday.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben says Weekly World News was an institution. Joe Berger was a genius. Yeah, I agree too. Some of the fucking,
I just remember the photos and some of the headlines.
The headlines are fucking great. Because like I said, I was looking at a bunch of covers today because I said, oh my god, how am I ever going to like narrow it down? Because so many of these are so fucking funny.
I remember in the 80s, me even as a kid reading that shit, knowing that was just a joke and entertainment. I never read any of it, but I'd see it in the checkout.
Oh, they're
lines
super
and
funny.
Just go, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
They're super funny.
But they had people that would buy it. I guess it's just humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some like dumb fucks out there that actually believe some of that shit's true. But most of the time, I'm sure most people were just like me. Like, that I just thought that was funny as hell. Like I said, because, like I said, it used to be only a quarter, like, back in the 90s. I think it was a quarter. Yeah. So it's like I said, if it had a good headline, like, Chocoholic Mom Gives Birth to Sugar-Coated Baby, then I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna buy that. That's fucking hilarious. Yeah. I used to have, like, back in the 90s, I had, like, a big collage, like, on my bedroom wall, and it had a bunch of covers from that. Because I would always buy one if it was funny, or it had, like, funny pictures on it.
So, yeah. My grandma would buy fucking the Inquirer so she could find out what was going on with that dude from The Price is Right. What was that guy's name? Fucking
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker. Yeah.
I'll tell you what was going on with him.
I love fucking Bob Barker.
He was grabbing women's asses without their consent. That's what was going on.
Yeah, old women. My grandmother's fucking generation loved Bob Barker. They all
my grandmother did too.
They all had fantasies about him and shit.
Ew.
And he was just some old man, you know. But he looked like a televangelist.
He did a bit.
Yeah, got a handsome guy with white hair, surrounded by beautiful,
not quite
showroom model type girls. And
not quite as creepy as Richard Dawson, but Richard
Dawson was creepy, but he was cool because he was drunk.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
What's she doing?
All right, what is she doing over there?
Pulling fucking books.
Is she pulling all the books out of the shelf? She's like, you guys are not paying attention to me, so I'm over here like.
I'll find fucking Blu-rays on the floor. She's pulled them out of the damn.
Yeah, when I go over there like with bookshelf, she pulls out the same. Yep. She pulls out Darwin's Origin of Species.
And I think it is the big thick one.
Yeah, like a couple like that are on the bottom. She pulls them all out because we're not paying attention.
And I'll be walking down the hallway catching her, and she'll run by the fucking Blu-ray fucking shelf and go, and she'll knock 4 or 5 of them out and run like she didn't do it. I saw you do it, and then she's hiding.
No, you did not. I was over here the whole time.
I
was over here the whole time.
Fucking fine.
She's so sneaky.
You think you're a child? You're not a child.
She is a child, though. She's a tiny furry child.
Yeah.
And she's very recalcitrant, also. All right, so we'll be back Wednesday talking about Weekly World News. So I'm really looking forward to that. We'll have some drinks and talk about like the fucking crazy shit that's in there.
That sounds good.
So yeah, that'll be super fun. So that'll be nice for a change, not doing a depressing topic. All right, so thank you everybody for dropping by this evening, and have a good day tomorrow. We will see you guys again on Wednesday night.